You can view the video of this podcast on Jazz Cabbage's YouTube or Facebook pages.
We are live on Facebook.
Are live on Facebook.
Okay.
So hey, we're gonna.
Yeah, we launched right into the bitchin.
And we'll continue right into the
into it,
conversation. No problem with that. But this is Jazz Cabbage Cafe, and we are now live.
Let's make sure for all of our audio only listeners on Spotify and Alexa that we introduce everyone online. We have Jamie Lowell, Jim Salame, Deb Young, Shelly Smith, and Colin McDougall on Jazz Cabbage Cafe today.
Right.
So there's a couple things to get to. One thing is I was prepared to talk about something else. Good news is it's kind of timeless. So I'll get into that, next week. It has to do with the stigma of marijuana and how I think it kind of parallels other issues of people just not liking to change their mind once they've internalized some kind of notion about something. And, that can be saved for another day. But there's a couple things that have come up now to talk about more currently. I want to get into a recent group or organization that did some type of evaluation and decided that we should be raising taxes on cannabis to help give the social equity program some teeth. I want to address that for a second and spin that one around.
But Rick agrees with that shit, right, Rick?
Of course not, but
I doubt it. I doubt it.
My anti-publicity people.
I think it sounds suspiciously like some other bullshit that came out right after the passage of the law, and I told recently that the same people are involved, and that did not surprise me at all. But we'll get into that in 1 second. We were talking about, let's look at the background that Deb's been using for a while. That is based on that's a picture of Rick and myself, a depiction that's based on the ambiguously gay duo from Saturday Night Live. Ben did it to be mean a few times.
Ben Horner of MMM Report, which is a monthly magazine here in Michigan, circulated and distributed throughout dispensaries statewide.
Just about for 10 years now. And which is pretty, remarkable. And the guy does some good things, man. And it gets weird because he gets mean sometimes. And after a couple of years of seemingly no tension and just, kind of agreeing on a lot of things and him continuously doing some good things and myself and Rick going on to do some good things. But in this case, I was not necessarily involved. But there was a revisal of an attack in the most recent issue of his magazine. I'm gonna send a picture of it to everybody so we can see.
What?
Shelly, wait till you see this, dude. You won't believe it.
So now I want to point this out too for those who get the magazine, and I don't have this with me, but look at John Sinclair's article. He quotes Rick for like half of his article in support of Rick. So it's very, very positive Rick article from John Sinclair. That's what should matter to people. The fact that this other thing is in here, it's just weird. And if you read it, it's kind of obvious to me where some, emotional things are going on, emotional / psychological things are going on. And Rick is not as described. It is kind of funny in that way, but just like we didn't really like these cartoons before because it was done out of, being mean, it has a similar feel to this. So I'm going to send it to people that understand what they know about, but Deb wanted to also.
I wanted to say is I embraced this photo because the first time I saw it, I thought, what the fuck is that? But then I embraced it because truly, if I'm thinking of two people who have more knowledge, and I've told Jamie this before, more knowledge of the cannabis industry, the cannabis legalization, cannabis law reform in the state of Michigan, it's these two guys. These guys are my hero. I'm not putting this up as a joke. You guys are my heroes. And I was really disheartened to read this piece of shit garbage editorial. Ben, if you're watching this, fuck you, because that was just bullshit. I've been your friend for a long time. I backed you when you said crazy shit before, but this is beyond. I've known Rick for a number of years. I can't, nothing that you said in your editorial describes anything that I know about Rick Thompson. And I think that this is just bullshit. And I just wanted to tell people, because this piece of shit is in all the grow stores. It's in the dispensaries. It's that free magazine at the door as you're leaving. It's right there. Everybody sees it. And as Jamie said, the rest of us know better. If John Sinclair knows better, then who is the authority here? I mean, come on, Ben. And Ben and John are friends. And I know if John reads that, John is going to be pissed about that shit too, because it's just not true. It sounds like an irrational 12-year-old wrote that shit. Somebody stepped on your toes or something. What the fuck, Ben? That's all I can say is what the fuck.
Hey, Rick, would you prefer it not be shown to everybody or just to the group?
I owned it last night. I kind of I kind of joked about it on Medical Mondays in some kind of graphic form, actually. So go ahead, you rock it out. I don't care.
Here it is.
I am
Again,
totally.
I think you can kind of see my email behind it, but so what for the moment? I'm not going to like download this right now,
Oh,
but
good. Can we hack your email now?
yeah, I think so if you want.
Sweet.
Not a lot there that would give
A lot
anybody
of
any
women
new
on your
information
email,
about
married man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Brandy Zink.
let's see, Matt, Heather, the person who did our great new logo, Brandy Zink, who is gonna be the chair of the new Michigan ASA.
Hey,
And on the
Brandy.
left side of there, Christine. Somebody.
What? Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, I know, Shelly, right?
So anyway, Rick apparently has been sucking on Brisbo's balls. And
How did they taste?
He said he was going to like share a little bit more about
salty?
that experience with us. And he also, they're really mean fucking shit in there. I mean, he went out of his way to like say extra mean shit.
Oh my
He
gosh.
claims that
This
Rick
is
is endorsing all
ridiculous.
this
Now,
crap.
I will
he
tell you
doesn't.
that magazine that Rick started off with for 2 years under the Big Daddy's organization was a great magazine, and it's a big part of this history. But it doesn't define Rick. The fact that that's not going on right now has been meaningless for many years, and Rick's stature has only grown. This is just such a contradiction to reality, what we all know to be true, and kind of obviously an insecurity issue. I mean,
Well,
And-
this is all this
Wow.
bullshit, and then under the photo it says award-winning activist, and award win. So then it's like he said something semi correct. What the fuck?
so anyway, there's hey, all publicity is good publicity. So Rick keeps sucking those balls. And Katie can,
But I mean,
There's no
what's the,
ball.
I don't understand. I don't understand what somebody gets out of that, doing that.
He gets a
You know what I
reaction,
mean?
and that's what he's looking for, is a reaction. Because now we're all talking about him again.
Yeah,
Right?
and we shouldn't talk this long about him. He's obviously got an ego issue and an insecurity complex.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Only
Not-
7
not the-
minutes in.
Look, just to say thank you everyone
Let's
for the
go.
support. Not the first
I'm
time I've been
sorry.
attacked in that format or in other formats. That's what happens when you're on top. People take shots. So I have no plan on stopping my trajectory. So I'll take all the slings and arrows from all of
well,
the
and this
jealous-
particular sling or arrow has no ability to stop your trajectory. We're
No,
making
it
fun of
doesn't.
in
I
a
just
way
felt
where
I
we're
had to
pointing out-
speak out though, because
Yeah.
it was just so ridiculous. So I
Berg,
mean,
did you get a
gosh.
chance to read that? You came in a little bit late. Berg from Medical Mondays has joined our broadcast, by the way, everyone. And did you get a chance to read that, or
I just caught the tail end of it.
dude.
So just to let everybody know, there is no actual link. That's in a physical magazine. I think after it's out for a little while, it does get put onto his website, but the new magazines aren't available online for a little bit. But again, if you do pick up that magazine, and it's the most recent 2021 January issue, there's an article in there by John Sinclair, and which is very positive about Rick and utilizes a lot of things that Rick has said, and he quotes him in there, and that's the one to check out if you pick up that magazine.
Yeah, I mean, we give Rick shit all the time, but never about. I mean, not like that.
There's no place in this world right now for that kind of venom. There's
Just
Right.
man, I mean,
Where does that come
it's not even
from?
like
And
it's
it's
not even
not
like
like Rick.
a witty, funny twist on anything.
No,
or any
and there was
historical
no event to
stereotype or
set it
anything.
up. What was the
I
event
mean,
No,
that?
it's
I mean that
No
seems like a
reason.
big. It seems like almost like a meme, like that should be on fucking Instagram or something, not in an actual magazine.
Maybe he's got a crush on you.
Hey,
Oh, maybe.
there you go,
Oh,
Shelly.
man,
I
you know,
believe
exactly-
I'm
that's
gonna write an
true.
article. I'm gonna write an article and be like, he just doing that because he
You know
likes
you want
him.
it. Yeah, you want him to suck your balls. That's what's going on.
Maybe. Yeah,
Oh my
maybe.
God.
I think
called
Rick.
projecting. It's called projecting.
Where'd Rick
Yeah.
go?
Projecting.
Well, I think that's
Hey.
true. I think what he described is what he aspires to be. And here's the thing, man. I do want to say, not to like totally defend Ben in any way, but if he did not do this and you just simply looked at the things that he consistently has done and has accomplished over the last few years, there's a lot of good things there, man. And he
Yes,
could get some very valid praise. But then
I
he
agree. He
goes on to do shit like this, man. And people sued him and shit over this stuff. I mean, there's a bunch
he
of us
was a
he's done
really-
this to, you know.
he was an early mentor of mine, going back 7-8 years in the movement, and was always real cool with me. When my grow got fucked up, he helped me with rebuilding and stuff like that. But then every now and then I would see shit like this projecting towards people that I'm friends with, people that I admire, and I think, what the fuck is going on? This was really the strongest one I've seen, and really the worst one. I'm just done. That's just fucked up.
What Jim said is correct. Let's just move on and not
Yeah,
feed
let's
the
move
ego of
on.
somebody
I
who's
agree.
craving attention.
Yeah,
And
I just feel I had to say something, you know.
Thank you. Thank you.
Blanket statement that has nothing to do with that. In the cannabis industry in general, let's be nice to each other.
Yeah.
Just real close to home, tearing down of other people around me, and I just am so disappointed in certain people. You know, it's like, don't bite the hand that fed you in any way. Just don't do that. You're not. It's so not cool. Whatever kind of cool you think you're being, you're wrong. So
that's an editorial I can get behind.
Whatever kind of cool you think you're being.
You know, whatever
Wayne
kind of
Fonzie.
movement or
You ain't
whatever.
Fonzie.
Yeah, no. So next.
Berg, what were you trying to say, man?
Berg, wrap this part up and then we'll get into the next thing.
Berg.
Personally, I just don't have a problem shitting on people who shit on my friends. So
right.
I mean,
there you go.
Give me the okay, Rick.
There's no need.
Uh-oh.
This has happened to me so many times. I can tell you in 2012, 2013, people tried to sink Big Daddies in 2010 and tried to get us busted. So many times people have come after me. It ain't a thing anymore.
And I can relate to that too, because quite often that's happened to me. I was not involved in this one, but I've been paired up with all of that and taking some hits on my own. And somebody at our store and some people from Botanical Company, I believe, are watching. So hello to everybody, Botanical Company.
Hey.
Are aware of the history a lot. And they know that like people giving us shit over years has helped to keep our name in circulation, man, and help to build, you know, awareness to the stuff that we're doing. So
here's an
it all kind
idea.
of works out sometimes.
An arrow again.
Here's an
God,
idea.
Shelly.
I have an idea. In order to you know, take the heat off of Rick, let's all start rumors about each other. And I want mine to be, I used to get in fights in high school. Just start.
I thought you wanted to be.
Yeah.
I thought you wanted to be like, you got the biggest dick. Or something.
I've got the biggest dick. And when people would challenge me in high school, I would kick their ass. I'd be like,
Right.
"Are you talking about my
whip it out
dick?"
in
And
their
then I
face.
would just. So here's how we'll
Happened
do
to
it.
me and I got suspended.
You guys,
I know.
you guys just start posting on my Facebook page, like, "Hey, I was just thinking about back in high school when you beat the shit out of that guy." Just everybody.
Attacks on Rick.
Defending my
Attacks on
bulge
Rick
in high
and Dick
school.
reminds me of
I'll do the same for you.
the old bag of dicks. That had to be mentioned when Rick is accepting.
Oh my God. I can't believe you brought that up.
You know, I was just thinking, it's just somebody trying to be relevant, trying to stay relevant, and that's what
Must be.
I think would be in his own right without doing any of this. You know,
I agree. I just don't understand why. It doesn't make any sense.
He's helped out a lot of good shit. But anyway, I don't want to defend anything. We should move on. We'll talk for a few minutes before we talk about some other stuff.
Yeah, let's talk about better things. Better things.
How about
things.
it's
Stuff is
today's
done
the last
today.
day.
Better things.
Last day. The cookies are ready.
Okay.
I mean, there's all kinds of cool shit going on.
The least amount of other stuff that we talk about in the beginning of me beginning to talk, the sooner we move on.
What?
So there was a report or an analysis or some type of information presented to the Marijuana Regulatory Agency recently, and I know some people here may have seen the article. It was posted on Safer Mission. It's out otherwise. And it suggests that there ought to be a tax increase on cannabis sales, including reinstating the 3% tax on medical, excise tax on medical.
That shit's Rick's idea.
It's not. In order to give social equity programs some teeth. Now, obviously, this reminds me like the burning kittens kind of legislature, where it's like,
Pardon me?
Well, it's like, of course you don't want to see kittens burn, right? So somebody gives you a law that says, hey, you're not allowed to burn kittens. You're gonna go along with that. But the problem is the devil's in the details, and all the other shit in there may or may not make that much sense. And this is the same thing. Of course, we all want to see social equity get some teeth and help out minority owners and participants in this industry. And it is very vague in the original language, and it takes some pro action to really get that going. And the state's doing some good stuff, and individual cities and townships, I think, are beginning to catch on now to add shit into their own ordinances to help out with that too. But we have no reason to increase taxes to do that. And also it's a little bit off. It's part of the report to be thinking in terms of keeping the medical program alive. It's been on a trajectory and well known to either fizzle out on its own, or in recent months, we've all become aware of the fact of efforts to try to combine the commercial licenses. And so the fact that you talk about reinstating the excise tax of that program might be a little archaic anyway. But we wanted to get rid of it. So to work in exact opposite of that is something that would be rejected, even if the medical program were not on a trajectory to dissolve one way or another. And it did remind me a little bit when I was first checking it out about some really weird legislation that was proposed. I don't think we ever saw language, but we saw like reports of what it wanted to do, like in the free press and things, and it peeled back rights. And it was, again, for social equity purposes and to help people out, but it peeled back rights, peeled back the ability for adults to transfer between each other, and just some other basic things that we had just achieved. So, those things are just a no-go. And it seemed as though the department had some support for this, if you read the article, but I think in actuality, it paralleled the fact that the department does want to put together groups of people to look into these issues and which things should be done in order to help it out. I don't think it actually said it was going to support this action, but I'd have to reread that. I kind of came in late today. That's why we're talking about it instead of some other stuff that I kind of planned on. But, this might be a little rhetorical, but some people might think that there is some value there, and depending on how the approach would go down. But yes, we want to see social equity be stronger, and we'd like to see it have some teeth. We'd like to see some real results of minority inclusion. But do we need to raise taxes and fool around with, things that we've already kind of decided and achieved and moved on from? And if we're going to use tax allocation for that, and we have the laws open, as could happen, then maybe reassessing some of the existing taxes, maybe from transportation or something like that, a couple percentage points. That's not a dramatic fix for the road. It's not like we're taking away the answer, but a couple percentage points that may help out social equity, I'd be fine with that. But any increase doesn't jive with me based on what I can tell right now. What do you think, Rick?
Well, first of all, increase in taxes means, less participation from citizenry. We know that's true. The higher the price, the fewer people buy. At a time when dispensaries and provisioning centers or cannabis distribution centers, adult use retailers, whatever you want to call them, at a time when they are telling us that they need to recruit more people from the unregulated market or more first-time cannabis users, having a higher to do it. I can also say that when it comes down to trying to push legislation through, raising taxes is not always a popular subject. Raising cannabis taxes seems to be a popular subject, especially amongst Republicans. So we have quite a job ahead of us to slow or stop that. I would like to see, if they need more money for the social equity program, I'd like to see them take it from the fees that are charged to cannabis companies that register for businesses. We know the number of companies that exist right now are going to have to renew their fees every single year. Plus, more fees come in as more businesses get started. And with only a fraction of the municipalities in Michigan opting yes for any cannabis businesses, that industry is just going to grow. So if you tack a little bit more onto every license that's issued, then you can have all the funding that you want. My understanding from our discussions with Director Brisboe is not that funding was the issue, but participation was the issue on the part of social equity applicants who are having a difficult time finding funding for their businesses. Now, what we don't want to do is we do not want the MRA or any government agency to get into the business of financing cannabis companies. That's a line that should never be crossed. So, Jim Salame, let's toss it over to you. What do you think about the subject at hand, sir?
I agree with you guys. If there's a better way to find those funds as opposed to taxing the consumer, it's going to bode well for the industry. It's going to throw a wrench. And like you said, a lot of people who don't go to dispensaries won't go to dispensaries at all because they can get it from the black market a lot cheaper without being subjected to that higher tax. So that's my opinion. Let's find another way to do it and balance it and put that burden on businesses and not the consumer.
I'm not a big fan of additional taxes on the industry because I'm fully aware that every tax dollar to charge a business or a licensing dollar to charge a business eventually comes out of an operating fund, which is paid for by sales, which are money out of our pocket. But there is also the thing that the market dictates the price of cannabis, the unregulated market as well as the regulated market. And if the licensing fees are a little bit higher, maybe executive pay goes down a little bit. I love that concept. Deborah Young, what do you think?
Also, it's 420, everyone.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Great.
420. Yay.
Thank you.
Well, I think it's 420, and I think I just agree with everything that's been said. I mean, it's very easy though to pass what they call luxury or sin taxes. Because people be like, oh yeah, it's the other guy's doing it. It's not going to cost me a dime, yada yada yada. But as we all know, and the prices in the dispensaries is so high right now, even a little bit more is going to drive people underground. If that's what they're trying to do, is to drive people to the black market, hey, that's cool too, because I believe there's room for everybody. But I don't think that's what they're trying to do here. If they're trying to raise funds, there's other ways to do it. Put it on the businesses, not the consumer, not the patients. Enough is enough. These guys are making big money. People owning these businesses, they're going to make good money. They can, if funding is needed, it can come from there. I'm not sure funding's needed. I think that they're collecting a lot right now. So
yeah, how are they using that money?
Yeah, let's take a look
to
at
make
that.
the
But
program work. Why is it about
let's
money?
take a look at that. But I'm totally against it. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Shelly, go ahead and jump right in.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you to the gentle lady from the Ferndale area. I appreciate it.
To the gentle lady. I like the way they say that. Don't you love that?
I hate the word
Actually,
gentle lady.
Actually, they didn't say like the young lady. They were saying gentleman, and then they were saying young lady. Even if it was like a 70-year-old, they'd be like the young lady from Maryland, and I'd be like, what?
Right.
Yeah, it was pretty weird.
I've seen Deborah
young
make a
lady
fist.
from-
I don't know if the gentle lady is appropriate.
I had this thought once Jamie said burning kittens, I couldn't get it out of my mind. And I was thinking like the devil's in the details. Like there's one circus in town and it has a giant like kitten jumping through fire rings act that you just destroyed because of the danger of kitten burning and their business. They're gonna come after you. But also you said on a trajectory to dissolve about something. And it doesn't even matter. I just really like the phrase on a trajectory to dissolve. That's it. Yeah. Well, the reason why I don't really care about the taxes, I don't think the taxes are the thing. I think government run entities that try to make things better become bureaucratic wastelands. So if you throw money at it, you can create a couple of middlemen, you can create an office somewhere, you can spend money on something and it'll never, do you know what I mean? Like basically the money's going to fighting racism, right? That's because what else are we talking about? Like it's going to changing the industrial prison complex. Where's it going? What are they going to do with a little bit of extra money to change that? It's got to be an attitude change. It's not a money. Yeah. I don't see where, I think the money would become bureaucratic paperwork and bullshit. So no on that. I will yield the rest of my time to the gentleman from Dearborn Heights.
1 minute. 1 minute to the gentleman from Dearborn.
I only got 1 minute.
No, you can do whatever you want. No one understands time here. What are you talking about?
I yield to the aggressive woman from Ann Arbor.
Aggressive.
The young aggressive woman.
Young aggressive woman.
Gentle woman. That's aggressive, gentle woman.
The young, gentle, aggressive woman.
I think aggressive and gentle are opposites.
Young, gentle, aggressive woman is my Tinder profile.
I love it.
Okay, carry on.
I was gonna say, like, I think that like maybe some of those bigger cannabis companies or something should create like some sort of social equity grants to kind of like, because I think that really maybe the industry should be the one that like is doing it, not the state regulate. Yeah, like what kind of Gage is doing, and just put more of that. I'd like to see it from other companies around the state. I think that the bigger ones, especially like Loom and like Picana, maybe, I don't know. Just, I feel like I see like Ascend Wellness, I think, just where they're like all over the place. There's like one here, one there, one there, one there, like all across the state. And then they got they're also they got like probably stacked licenses.
Are you
on
making
top
white
of that.
supremacist signs,
No,
Shelly?
No, he goes.
Shelly's
Colin,
doing
Colin
hand
said.
signs.
Colin said those dispensaries are everywhere. There's one over here. There's one over here. There's one over here. There's like 6 in his room. It's
like-
crazy. I feel like the market.
Geospatially,
You know, I'm just saying
That
around
even
Michigan, around
It's a
the mitten,
boutique
though.
model.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I just think if they
It's
have
like,
like a bunch of stacked
Sweet Leaf.
licenses and stuff, that they should, do something.
well, the concept of having big business pay for social equity was actually included in the legalization program. Every legalized recreational marijuana business has to have a social equity program, which involves them creating a plan to give back to the community. Now, whether those
Who's
are
doing
actually
it?
real or what they're doing or how effective those have been, nobody's audited that, and perhaps that's an interesting task to take.
Oh, I
Yeah, we should
actually
monitor
have a
that.
question. I have a question because I've been wondering this. When someone says they have a social equity program, and Jim, you might know this, like, is there a list of like, we give money to these 3 organizations, we hire this many people who used to have a crime on their record? Do you know what I mean? Like, what do people get participation points for specifically?
What are the guidelines?
Yeah, there
I
is
would like
no
to see the
guidelines,
list.
I don't think.
It was
I would like to-
written very broadly because, as
Vague.
you all know, we've talked before, we're limited in the amount of language we can put on the back of a petition, so you cannot fully articulate an entire program when you're petitioning for a law to be put in place. And this is one of those areas where the Marijuana Regulatory Agency has given no additional direction. They left it as vague as we put it in there, and so companies are interpreting it on their own, and it doesn't seem like there's any reporting requirement or reporting system either. I've never heard of other than Gage. By the way, for our listeners who don't know, Gage Cannabis Company has promised $50,000 in a social equity grant to to someone in every one of the social equity communities in the state of Michigan, where there are 108 social equity communities named right now, based on poverty level, arrest level, and other things. So, and they've only awarded 2 of those in 2 years. So it's a concept, not necessarily a program.
Yeah.
Well, do you know what? Do you know Robin from Pot Farms? She's mainly done hemp so far.
Mhm.
Like her whole business plan, her whole reason for building her business is social equity, is to like find the people that were kicked out of the business or arrested or whatever and get them back in the business. It's her whole, besides being organic and having a whole biosystem that she grows in and everything, her business plan is social equity, like almost purely. So that's kind of fascinating.
Yep.
She's the only person I've known that's doing it that way, really.
Yeah, that is very cool. I remember talking to her about that at the gathering the night before Hash Bash at the Aaron.
I got some of her CBD recently, and it's really good.
Nice. And she also was part of a really good presentation up at the MICAA conference this summer also.
And she did a really great testimonial for our Decriminalized Nature Ann Arbor group.
Hey, so they remind me, I told her about the person who puts on these glasses from Genesee. These are this plastic that's made out of recycled water bottles from Flint. And she also hires people who are felons and can't otherwise have a hard time getting a job and stuff like that.
Oh, fascinating. Do they make regular glasses or just, what are those? What?
This is the design that they have. And then you can get many different colors, and then you can get all the transition, all the other sunglasses.
Okay, but so I can have my glass. Send me that info because these are terrible. They're like,
me too.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Genesee, it's called, but I will.
Genesee, I will.
Like Genesee County.
Yeah, but it's
Genesee. Okay, okay.
a little twist on it for the market.
Love it. Love it.
A little emphasis at the end.
These
kind of
glasses.
where I'm at right now. Yeah.
Vision.
Mm-hmm. So interesting stuff. Berg, we didn't catch your opinion on this. Do you want to weigh in?
About the taxes and everything?
Yeah,
I heard someone bring up roads and everything, but I mean, there's plenty of other businesses that could be taxed, besides marijuana. What about all the transportation companies that are destroying our roads? I grew up in Southwest Detroit, You know, Fort Street over by the bridge, that used to be like a fucking, it was like driving on those old cars in, you know, in Henry Ford Village where you're on a track. You know, there's divots in the roads. You know, it's shit's. I mean, there's plenty of other people they need to tax besides weed. So I'll just leave it.
Definitely. I gotta echo that. I think there's like a weight limit that is like twice that of Ohio,
Indiana,
Indiana. And
you know those big spools? You know the big spools of steel that you'll see like, you know, 10 fucking stacked on a back of a semi? Well, if they go to Indiana, they have to pull off to the side before they enter the state. And they're only allowed 2 of those on the back of their trailers. Meanwhile, in Michigan, 10, you know? It's insane, man.
Businesses run the show here in Michigan for a very, very long time.
Sure.
Our insurance companies enjoy rules here that no place else is. You cannot sue people for product failures in the state of Michigan, which is such a bizarre law.
Well,
our no fault
pharmaceutical
insurance
companies too.
Yep, exactly.
I might have a solution for that, since you can't sue people since you can't sue a company for a faulty product. You can give it to me and I will smash it with a sledgehammer.
Yes.
So that was
I'm
interesting.
serious. My printer. I hate my printer.
You did that
Give it
recently
to me.
with
Give it to me right now.
Then I have to buy a new one. I've been bitching about it for like 4 years. I hate it.
Let me at it.
Shelly Smith, did you just
A
publish a
piece of
video
shit.
recently where you destroyed some electronics? Is that correct?
I did. I threw a printer off of a balcony and then I smashed it with several things.
And where could we find this video of you enraged?
It's on Instagram. It's on Facebook. I'm not enraged. I'm having fun. I'm having a lot of fun.
How can people find your Facebook page? How can they find you?
Oh, Shelly Smith.
With the golf club.
Like the scene from Office Space.
Shelly, did it like consume toner packs?
And
you have to keep adding ink to it like constantly.
Oh yeah,
That's what
like
mine does. Constantly.
5 pages, and then it's like how to ink. It's like, no, I've never used yellow. I've never fucking used yellow.
No, exactly. I just put you in. What the fuck do you talk about?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Fuck
you
that,
feel like that, and then I finally, you know. So if any of you have frustrating products that you cannot, you know,
there it is,
sue the company for, but you would like it, you know, dealt with, then
piece of shit. I hate.
Then,
are we limiting it to products, or can I send you some names? Actually,
there's a room somewhere.
We should create a room like that.
Smash it. Yeah, it's in Ferndale. You can smash it, and they bring pottery in and electronics and
oh my
god,
it's satisfying.
And you get it for like 40 minutes or something. You just go crazy and just tear all their shit up.
Oh yeah, Mark Passerini showed up at my door with a sledgehammer and safety glasses, ready to participate.
Nice.
Awesome.
Very nice. In fact, speaking of Mark Passerini, recently he and Ohm got word out about their longtime participation with getting artwork and the ability for prisoners to participate in creating artwork. And I'm not sure the whole program.
PCAP.
Jim knows all about it.
Yeah.
Though Jim Salim knows it.
The Prisoner Creative Arts Program, PCAP. And all the art that's on the wall in Ohm is really beautiful, and it's a lot of it's from PCAP.
Yeah, and those are prisoners that have been given supplies while they're incarcerated for drug offenses to create art, and then their art is sold at Ohm of Medicine and throughout the state.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Very cool. Ohm strikes again with another good thing. So that's why they're so awesome. So we're going to talk about the Clemency Coalition that recently has been formed and had a meeting, and includes our good friend Ryan Basore and Redemption, and other groups and organizations, and that kind of stuff. But first, Ryan, we were talking about the proposal, or the group that is proposing or recommending an increased tax, which actually includes, as I looked at it before the show, includes reinstating the 3% excise tax on the medical program. But anyway, just your thoughts on that. Our thoughts were that we should be interested in helping out social equity programs and giving them teeth, and maybe even allocating funds toward them, but with that, we don't need to increase taxes generally. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I echo those sentiments, and from my experience of listening to people, is that it's still the biggest barriers is access to capital for a lot of people, especially people affected by the war on drugs and that have come from some of these communities. It's definitely tougher, but the proposal that I saw that to me doesn't make any sense. You can't raise all those taxes. Like we're working on competing with the illicit market, and that's not how you do that. And there's ways to be more efficient. We could give the cops less money. We could do a lot of things in there that would make a lot more sense. But like I said, like I still think it's too much. But like the only thing that like if they were just raising it a little bit, 0.5%, 1% or something, and it was only going to grants and training for social equity applicants, I could probably fall in line with that. But that's my bare maximum of agreeing that the tax, anything with the taxes.
Okay. Well, fair enough. I'm glad that you didn't say that you are in support of it, and then
Yeah.
let us know why.
No,
But,
it needs to be done, but I think I love the fact that Michigan is focusing on that, and in my talks with other states and other people around the country, they do recognize that Michigan's taken an interest in that, and that it's cool. That it is exciting. I don't expect it to be perfect from how it was first released, but hopefully we get some good. There's a lot of community talk on it, and we come up with the best plan.
so,
Can some, oh, can
Shelley.
somebody update, I just want somebody to update me on expungement. I feel like for a while, everybody was talking about expungement and what was going to happen with expungement, what was being passed, but now I don't know.
Well, the bill's passed, and we were bitching because the overall, a very awesome set of bills, a definite improvement to expungement at large, and some revolutionary things like with some automatic stuff for misdemeanors and felonies after 7 and 10 years respectively, just coming off your record, because that's so really good stuff. But we were bitching about the cannabis, the specific cannabis bill within that package of bills, which kind of came up short. Nothing was automatic about it. Didn't even get into felonies. And although it purported to allow people who engaged in cannabis activity that was made legal, through the MRTMA, for what they had done previously, it really only allowed it for possession and use, whereas people can grow and they can also transfer it. So what they would call, manufacture and delivery were things that were not eligible for that expungement through the cannabis thing. So we thought that part was short, but the overall package did things like allow people to, it had been, you could only do it if you had one felony, and only you had to wait 5 years and all these other conditions. Now you can do it up to 2. And as I said, some things are automatic, and there's a lot of improvements. The clean slate approach, and Robbie had a lot to do with that. You should get some good credit.
One of the hangups though is we're going to have more work to do is Ingham County. We won't, but the prosecutors, the local prosecutors, the county get to basically you put in for it, and they can fight it, or they can go against it, and then that's going to take attorneys. So like that's one thing we're looking at pretty heavily in places. I've got and talking to a couple provisioning centers down in Berrien and County and Cass that want to actually work with my foundation to raise funds and provide pro bono attorneys for people in those counties that might be going for their expunge. But yeah, I'm guessing there's going to be some county prosecutors throughout the state that are contesting a lot of those. So just depends on where you're at too, I think.
Brian, you mentioned your foundation. This is a good time to talk about that.
Well, actually, another tie-in is cool. I'm really excited about the PCAP project. A lot of great artists in prison. When I was in there, it means a lot, and it's fun. And there's huge art shows where I was at. But the foundation, we were able to donate $1,000 to that to home on Sunday too. So that was we're excited about that, and going to do a lot more with it. And a lot of good stuff. We work with ACT. Just got it today, the first one. We work at ACT Labs. It's a testing lab that's testing concentrates now, and been around. A lot of our friends and received a nice check from them today from the foundation for a program we got going with them. So it's pretty cool. Revenue is starting to come in to where we can make a difference. And as far as like with the foundation, where Michael Thompson is going to be getting out soon. There's more to come on that. This coalition, and then I'm really starting to aim to maybe there's an opportunity for some of us in Michigan to get involved nationally, play a bigger role too. Now that things have changed, so a lot going on. It's an exciting time to be in criminal justice reform and cannabis reform.
When you talk about the coalition, we should explain for our listeners that on this last Saturday, which I think was the 15th, 16th, something like that, of January, we met with the leadership from Last Prisoner Project, Cannabis Caucus of Michigan Democratic Party, Force Detroit, the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, and several other groups. Robin Snyder from Michigan Cannabis Industry Association, Verge Bernero, former mayor of the city of Lansing, plus two prosecutors, Ely Savitt and Carol Seaman. That'd be Ingham County and Washtenaw County, irrespective.
Rep Robbie.
Representative Robbie, that's absolutely true. So we met to form this Clemency Project. And maybe, Jamie, you can explain a little bit more about that, because I think I've got some lag on my line.
Yeah, well, there was also the national group of criminal defense lawyers, and then the people from Last Prisoner Project that have been around and working directly with Ryan and Mike McCurdy, the Redemption Foundation, the Democratic Cannabis Caucus, and it was pretty cool, actually. If you think about all the major components that were represented there, lawmakers, prosecutors, many organizations with some resources, it's the kind of situation that presents itself as being capable of getting some stuff done. And this conversation was on the heels of there being some real action with Michael Thompson, and and I'm sure Ryan can give us some more feedback on that, because he's directly involved in that stuff.
Yeah, so like this Clemency program, Norm Reimer, who was head of Clemency, worked with the Obama administration and has done a lot of stuff, and is really, really a guy with credentials, and has been around, and they're doing this, and they're looking to help states, and Michigan's a main target based on our activism and our friendliness with some of our lawmakers, and a real possibility. So it's really a whole program that they lay out, and they do. Bart Morris was there, and he's a member of, but it's they lay it out, and they train attorneys, and they start going to work, and they have a big case management program they use and get organized, and they start going to work on all the 1,200 to 1,000 people that are still in there. That's what they're gearing up. They're asking if this group can take the lead on it. We have support of the AG's office. Dana was supposed to be on the show, but with everything going on in Lansing with different threats, they had to cancel at the last minute. So we're looking to get support from the governor's office. So there's a lot of people heard about it now too, and want to be more involved, and it's a win-win-win situation for everybody involved, including the governor, and obviously the people of the state, and then obviously the people that are in jail and their families. So there's no reason not to do it.
And the goal would be to help the governor extend clemency to more people who are currently incarcerated or who have been freed but still need to have their records expunged, and also to instigate better expungement rules in the state of Michigan too. Is that right, Ryan?
Yeah, and it's really to give a vehicle and an apparatus and the help, no charge. It's doesn't cost anything, to where they can jumpstart this, and it's not a burden on the governor's office. And these guys are experts at doing it, and they've done it, and then they're set up and ready to go. So it's got a real chance. We had a great engagement from the two prosecutors, and there'll be more, and there might be more lawmakers as well too. I got some calls afterwards of people that want to know how they could get involved, and there's also lobbyists that want to get involved, and obviously not charged for their time as well. So that helps.
Is there a way that people listening to this broadcast today can get involved in this project, or is that something we'll need to update them with on a later program?
Probably, update on a later program, but then there's also, I see Mike McCurdy just joined us, so he's the expert on all of this.
Hello.
Hey, Mike.
Mike McCurdy, for our listeners, is the chairman of the Cannabis Caucus of the Michigan Democratic Party and has been one of the integral pieces involved in Michigan's effort to free Michael Thompson, to launch the Clemency Project, and to move expungement forward on a number of different fronts. So thank you for joining the Jazz Cabbage Cafe, Mike McCurdy.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Sorry to be late.
We were just discussing the Clemency Project, and if you could, we've already given an overview of what its goals are and who the participants were, but give us your sensation of how you felt about Saturday's meeting. We all thought it was very positive.
I mean, Saturday's meeting went great. Unfortunately, we did not have a representative from the governor's office there. I think we should all be giving her the benefit of the doubt at this point, given everything that she's, our meeting was literally scheduled the day before. There was also an armed uprising scheduled. So, I know her life was, her family was under high security. There were credible threats against her. So I think that she's aware, she knew. We definitely have our program in front of her, and that is an accomplishment of that meeting. So I think the meeting went very well. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter until we get the governor's attention on it. I mean, without her buying into our program, we're not going to get people out. So hopefully, ideally with that meeting, with some prosecutors on board with us, we proved we have at least one state rep on board with us. We got 2 prosecutors on board with us. They signed up. The ex-mayor of Lansing signed up, said he was on board with us. I'm hoping we can get their signatures on a letter to the governor that says, hey, come to the table. It's time.
What would be required in Michigan for us to have real reform on a clemency level? Right now, it's a very cumbersome process, and according to Sarah Gersten, who's the executive director from Last Prisoner Project, poor Michael Thompson's going to be still being owned by the prison complex for 4 years after he's released, because he's going to have 4 years of parole on a charge that was released by the governor. So what do we need to do in order to resolve things like that so we can get better results for the people that get clemency in the future?
I mean, I think a big key is right now we have an acting head of the parole board. Whitmer has the power to appoint that position. And I think we need a head of the parole board who's friendly to a clemency project. But honestly, at the end of the day, we need a governor who's friendly to a clemency project. And we have through our coalition, we've basically laid this at Gretchen Whitmer's feet, and we've made it as easy as it can possibly be. The National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, basically they've figured this out under the Obama administration. They've streamlined the whole process where they've made everything electronic, and they're saying, hey, all you need to do is give us the criteria, Governor Whitmer, and we can give you the applications in exactly the order you want, everything sorted for you electronically, and all you have to do is sign on the dotted line. It's as easy as it gets for the Whitmer administration. They just need the political will to do it. And on top of that, like you said, one of the things we can be asking, and it's within her power, is these sentences should be commuted. They should be commuted absolutely without that 4-year additional parole terms, and that's something we can.
In addition to the work that we did to free Michael Thompson, or as a result of it, rather, we received an exhaustive list of people currently incarcerated in Michigan prisons whose cases are associated with cannabis in one way or another. And I know that the Cannabis Caucus and other folks have been working through that list to identify a couple people that immediately deserve commutation, and then others that'll come forward. We're really talking about a large number of people, right, Mike, that are eligible for this or that are still in jail because of cannabis to a certain degree.
It's a number that's really hard to put a finger on, specifically because of cases such as we've got a case where somebody is serving I think it's 10 to 20 years on what's ostensibly a crack cocaine charge, but the reason they got that long of a sentence is because they had 2 previous marijuana charges, right? So it's actually relatively complex. You know, we've got somebody else who's been reincarcerated. They could be doing 5 to 10 more years, and the reason they're in is because they got violated on parole for using their medical marijuana. They have their card. They have every right to use their medicine, and yet they essentially are serving 5 to 10 years for the crime of using their medicine, which is insane. You know, and so to find out how many of these people there are, we need the program, because there's just the MDOC. Nobody has really the seeming ability, at least not the will, to do the legwork to sort through the prison population and figure out how many people are there technically or not technically, but on cannabis. Because it's not just as straightforward as being convicted of a cannabis crime and then you're in.
And so I just want to put into perspective a little bit. One of the first times that the Attorney General was met with Mike McCurdy and Rick Thompson and Zara from the Cannabis Caucus, she showed up with a list upon request of like 15 people or something like that. And that represented the only ones that had like this direct link to cannabis was the thing they were charged, convicted, and in prison for. So what makes it more complex is that sometimes inappropriately cannabis was the beginning of an investigation or something like that too, and that led to all types of other things. Maybe even like Michael Thompson's case would be an example of that. And that led to other things that turned into, you know, what they got put away for. So to be able to peel some of that back and get on the same page with what qualifies as cannabis being involved in that inappropriately, and that those people should get some consideration for, is the hard thing that he's talking about, putting a finger on.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Jamie. Like in Michael Thompson's case, he was busted with selling 3 pounds of weed to a friend. And then they went to his apartment and they found some guns locked up in a closet. And they said, well, we're going to say you used these guns in the commission of a crime. And so technically he was in serving time on a gun crime, you know, even though the guns themselves were never used in a crime. Now, Rudy Gammo also was not on that initial list that we got from the Attorney General, because even though he was locked up for running his medical marijuana facility, he was charged with some sort of racketeering charge. He wasn't actually charged with cannabis. So that didn't come up on a search through data for people serving time for cannabis. And those are just glaring examples. And we really don't know how many of those are out there.
We did receive an updated list, though, Mike. At one point, didn't it have a number of like 2,000 names on it at some point?
Yeah, we have a list of approximately 2,000 names of people that the MDOC has identified as having marijuana being some sort of influencing part of their record. But I don't believe that list is complete either. Very specifically, I'm almost certain it doesn't contain people who are violated for parole, or like I discussed earlier, the situation where the past of marijuana convictions made it so their conviction was a 3rd or 4th offense when really their past offenses were simply marijuana crimes, and so it looks like they're only serving time on a cocaine charge or something of the sort. But the reality is that their time was quadrupled or more because it was a 3rd or 4th offense.
Thank you for that explanation. I tell you, the Clemency Project is an important thing moving forward. Here in Michigan, we have a lot of buy-in from partners and people that are actually willing to do the work. And what you've demonstrated here in these last few minutes is that there certainly is a need for that service to be done out there. Ryan Basore, you know a little bit more about this. I think maybe what is the cannabis lawyers pilot program on a statewide level? What would that entail?
What it would entail, like, actually, that might be a better one for Mike. I just know that you know, they have this it's one of the associations, and there's 650 members already in Michigan. And Bart Morris was on the call. He's been a member for already like 15 years, big supporter. And it would be engaging those attorneys with the software, the management system, with the track every single one, updates, who's on it, who's on what, and working there. That they have the whole system and network all figured out. It's basically being allowed to put it into place. That's the beautiful thing. So I think it's just really great. Like people are coming to help nationally, and we don't have to invent the wheel or reinvent it. And our job is to, like Mike said, put pressure on the governor. Just make sure she can see this is a win for everybody. With what's happened federally, this gives us a lot better chance with us watching what I think they're going to start doing. And so it's all positive. It's just keep pushing the needle. So we just need approval.
In Michigan, we've had so many firsts, and we're very, very proud of those. But in this instance, it's best not to be the one going first, because the first guy stumbles. And we don't want Michigan's program to stumble. We want it to start racing forward and doing good from day one. Mike, do you have anything to add to what Ryan said about the kind of the program that ACDL would be bringing to Michigan? You're on mute, my friend. You're on mute, Mike.
You're on mute.
Sorry. They are the big dog in the room right now, NACDL, but they're not. They don't do all the work, which is part of the reason we need to grow our coalition, because we need to raise money for reentry programs. We need to support reentry groups. We need reentry groups joining our coalition. We need to be pressuring lawmakers to pass legislation so people who are getting out can work in the cannabis industry. We need, Yusuf Rabi was on our call on Saturday, and he pressed it that his point was, we not only need people getting out to be able to work in the cannabis industry, we need them to be able to be owners. A lot of these people serving time, they were sole proprietors when they went in. And they shouldn't be coming out and being told that they have to go work for somebody else. They should be able to like step in and be owners again. So that's it. There's a lot that needs to happen. Clemency's a part of it. Reentry is a big part of it. And changing some of our laws to make all that easier.
Mike, help people understand what a reentry group is.
Well, so getting out of prison is hard. People in prison are very institutionalized. I had somebody I worked with I hired into my construction company to do work straight out of prison. And this guy had owned his own company doing construction for decades. He got out of prison after 5 years, and he was afraid to ride a bus. Swear to God, he was afraid to leave the house. Like, they had him so broken and institutionalized that he just didn't know how to function. And so people coming out of prison, they need support. They need a leg up. They need funding. Some of them may need housing. They need jobs, need the ability to survive. Right. And the emotional support, everything else. I mean, they're coming out of. I mean, think about Michael Thompson, for Christ's sakes. He just did 25 years. I mean, that guy's going to need some help, right? And everybody coming out is going to need help. Imagine we just lost 5 years of our lives. We need help.
Just understanding the world, like the world is not
so different now.
It's so strange. Yeah.
That's one of the things that we do poorly, is help people readjust to the world. We don't do mental health very well here in the United States of America, and we don't do reentry either. Ryan, you experienced that life. Can you add anything to the importance of reentry groups?
Yeah, that's what was so shocking to me, how much you're stacked up. And so I know the federal system. I don't know the state. And you get out, you're in a halfway house, and I was in Kalamazoo, and you're in lockdown there. You're not allowed to work for yourself. You're not allowed to work for a family member. You're not allowed to take a high-paying job in my situation, because they don't want you getting back into the lifestyle or not being humble. And so you get a bed, and you fight to get out of that so you can start going home on the weekends. With like for me, they forced me. I had to live with my parents. I was actually thankful for the time with them. I live out in the country and thankful for it, but I had land contracted my houses, and they wouldn't let me get an apartment. So, and then they're all over you, looking for you for ways to mess up, write you up. But then with the bed, like, so like I was charged a bed after 2 months. I started staying at home. There was 5 people getting charged for one bed in the halfway house. So like, just and they take it was like 20,
What?
it was 25% of what you made before taxes they take from you too. So like it's just like and these guys, some people are coming out, they fixed it with the Michigan driver responsibility, but you go in, you don't renew your license, you come out and you owe $1,500 to the state even to get a license. Well, why didn't you renew it? I was in prison. And it's just one thing after another. And guys making 12, $15 an hour, and they've got 6. So some of these guys had 6, child support, cases to pay. And like, I was just shocked. I had friends and family that really helped me out, but that still wasn't easy. So that was shocking. It's disgusting the way they turned it into a business, and they try to keep you in the system. And once you get out, like it's a different world, but it's tough. So it's important. Sorry to go on a rant there, but we brought back some memories.
No, man, you're
Yeah.
educating us. You're educating us for real.
Yep. Yeah. So this has been a great conversation. As far as clemency goes, Jamie, any additional thoughts? You were at that meeting.
Yeah, I hope that, and it was kind of discussed that, we can get the governor's attention. She can offer what parameters are appropriate. And then we know then how to approach all the others that might be involved and be able to use the resources from the national guys from criminal defense lawyers, and that kind of stuff. But I think the cool thing is, like, there are avenues to getting her attention there, and there's a lot of capability and professionalism and a lot of confidence in being able to actually do something here. It's not just like proposing the concept of it and not believing that there's enough juice there to make something happen. I mean, it seemed very promising to me. All components involved, everybody participating, and what was being brought to the table from resources to experience. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens from all this.
I'm applying some awesome Dory balm to my temples because I have a little bit of a headache. Dory balm. Love that stuff. They're not a sponsor or anything. I like to spread success stories whenever I can, and Dory's stuff is
Good
fantastic.
shit. So good.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Sure is. So this has been great. I don't know, Mike, did you have any other updates you wanted to let us know about, things going on?
Oh boy. Well, before we move on from this, I just want to say that we need to fully expect that we're going to lose the clemency battle, right? And what I mean by that is we have to have all hands on deck, right? The thing is this is a big thing. You almost always lose your big fights. I think we can win, but we have to pull all of our resources. The cannabis community has to get behind this, right? We got to put money behind it. We got to put our organization's names behind it. We got to put our voices behind it, use our connections. We have to give the governor no choice but to do this, basically, right? And that's nothing against her, but I think that's just the reality. Politically, this might be a hard thing for her to do. So we have to make it politically impossible not to do. I mean, that's my position. I think we should be using all of our contacts and all our resources to make this happen. And that'll go towards, we're building a coalition. So please, we'll be making a formal call to all the cannabis groups out there to join our coalition. And I know there's a lot of us, so I hope we can all pull together on this.
Ryan, go ahead, Mike, did you have any other updates on anything else going on?
Well, did Ryan talk about Michael Thompson's release date yet?
He did not.
Please do.
Go ahead, Mike.
Do you have it in front of you?
No, I know it's January 28th, 8 a.m. and it's at the Edward. I got the name of the spot. It's down in Jackson. It's at the Charles Edgar reception. And we are planning, it's for people that are activists and he's getting out and really just want to make it to where he gets out, cheer him on, whether it's honking your horn in the cars or maybe some signs, just real respectful and tasteful for him. And because I've been thinking about this, man, I knew what it was like to get out after, almost 3 years, whatever. And 25 years, especially being in there for a lot of the time, thinking you were doing it to do life, you know, and never get out. Like what a surreal moment that's going to be. So, you know, people that have helped and people that have been following it, that's where it's going to be. And we're going to be putting out a press release pretty soon, but it's super exciting. And, hopefully this is, you know, a momentum builder, because, it's glad to see it happen. It was a lot of work just to get one person out, but one person's life matters, you know, like we do that over and over again, but you know, like it needs to, we need to pick up the pace. Obviously, this is, you know, enjoy the victory, but we got to get going, like Mike
First
said.
one's hardest, but the second one comes easier, and that's really what we're hoping for. Ryan, as far as Redemption Foundation goes, what's on the agenda? What's on the tap for you, sir?
We're going to be announcing a fun fundraiser on 7/10 this coming year in Lansing. We're going to be doing a smoking friendly golf outing and be raising money for the foundation, and probably we might even do it in conjunction with LPP and then for this Clemency Project. But with that, our big goal of a big get is, you know, talk to Belushi, and we're trying to get Bill Murray to come and be the guest of honor. So that'd be pretty wild. And to raise a bunch of money, and then working on this. We've been putting money on people's books, you know, kind of quietly, and then taking care of some of that, and looking forward to seeing maybe get more involved nationally. Possibly some expansion of my brand to some other states will allow that to happen. So really the sky's the limit, but it's just it's exciting to be able to actually do this and get some results. So you know, we can't just thankful to be able to do it every day.
Jamie?
Yeah, man.
Jamie,
Yes.
you want to jump in with the stuff going on in Kalkaska you've got coming up?
I mean,
You got Botanical Company, you got the Kalkushka
I do,
Lounge,
yeah,
you got all that
yeah.
stuff.
Selling it hard, yeah.
okay, there you go.
The hat's too tight. He's not thinking properly.
No, Rick covered it for me. So yes, the Lansing store is now up and running, and that was the thing that needed to happen before Kalkaska, plus some finishing touches and construction and all the proper processes with the state and everything. So the next few weeks, there's not an exact date laid down yet, but that's the focus, and things keep on getting more and more complete and closer all the time. And so another botanical company in downtown Kalkaska, right next to one of the state's for social lounges, Kalkushka. And looking forward to that.
You're collaborating with John Sinclair?
Yeah, you know, next week, it just reminds me, we have a really awesome show lined up, and it includes the participation of John Sinclair. So we're going to talk about that a little bit then. But yeah, he's lent himself to some branding, and he has a new foundation that's forming, and those things are going to come together, and it is just really cool. I mean, Ryan's been on some of these conversations. Rick obviously knows what's going on, and just really looking forward to giving some tribute and helping to preserve the legacy, and more exposure to a guy who deserves some more recognition than he gets.
Of course, John Sinclair, a cannabis legend, but also a music legend, a beat poet, a man, the only man alive that I know of that John Lennon sang a song about. So many reasons why John Sinclair is an awesome man and famous. And Kalkaska, for our audio listeners who may not be familiar with Michigan, Kalkaska is a community in the northern Lower Peninsula that's really embraced the cannabis business community. They have a whole industrial park there that features cultivators and processors of cannabis. It's one of the success stories that we talk about here on Jazz Cabbage Cafe quite regularly, because they've done such a good job of integrating the cannabis industry into their regular operations on a day-to-day basis. So congratulations both to Ryan and to Jamie for the continued work that you have going on there. Jim and Colin just got, your Decriminalized Nature Ann Arbor was very, very successful. You've launched the Entheo show. Do you want to talk about that for a moment?
Sure. Colin, you want to say something?
Yeah, I can say something. So yeah, we launched the NPO show about a week ago now. It was on a Friday. Our first show was about Decriminalized Nature Detroit, and we also had guests from Decriminalized Nature Oakland. And they are the original Decriminalized Nature that started out there. So it was really cool and interesting interview. It wasn't just me and Jim, but like Chuck was on it, and Mike O'File, Julie Barron. Yep. And yeah, we have another one this coming Friday, and Jim can talk about that.
Yeah, this Friday we have Diana Quinn and Julie Barron talking about their upcoming therapy sessions and seminars that they're offering. We also have a group from Grand Rapids, Decriminalized Nature Grand Rapids, that'll be on. And each show, the whole goal is just to talk to different cities in the state of Michigan and get them motivated and help them with the information we got from the Decrim Nature folks in Oakland, California. As they helped us, we want to help people in the cities of Michigan to continue this. So every 2 weeks we'll have a different city on and just help build the moment.
Cool,
To
yeah.
explain to people what Decriminalized Nature Ann Arbor was, you decriminalized the possession of entheogenic substances, which is mushrooms and LSD and peyote and things of that nature.
Yeah, and we served that up, and then Ellie Savat like hit it out of the park by announcing that all entheogens in the county of Washtenaw will be legal, even small possession and small purchase.
That's not exactly the wording, but yeah.
It's effectively that. Yes, it's a lowest law enforcement priority. So
as a prosecutor, he won't prosecute for it. They didn't.
Right.
They shouldn't make it legal.
Exactly. No, and he's not allowing his assistant prosecutors.
What he said was like he'll extend that policy throughout the county. That works for him, and that's what it should be. And that's been consistent with how he's handled other issues too. And of course, he was involved, one of the prosecutors involved with our discussion on the clemency and that type of stuff. Mike, what do you think about adding entheo to the caucus as a subset, or maybe there's starting to be room for it to become its own new caucus.
I think it's something that's a natural fit for us. I think organizing more and more groups is difficult. So I think as much stuff as we can sort of, it's kind of up to our executive committee and our members, but I think they're ready to take that on. I think we just put it to a vote, and I think it passed overwhelmingly. And
it's so working to discuss the parallel part of the discussion, the fact that people have
convictions
as in
over these
Ann Arbor,
substances.
Yeah, to actually do some research here, and then there's the information, the nature of the substance, it parallels itself with cannabis and not being dangerous as previously viewed, as having many benefits. Responsible adults. It just seems to be kind of following right in line and to start, paving the way for its acceptance.
It's on the same line as the disproportionate arrests for people of color too. Like people who use these entheogens have found themselves incarcerated more so than white people. So it needs to be legalized.
Yeah.
This is essentially a conversation about expanding the Cannabis Caucus of the Michigan Democratic Party, expanding its mission beyond cannabis goals to including entheogens as part of our core value. So that's what we're talking about. Mike McCurdy, please go ahead.
I mean, I love the idea myself. I'm all about it. In fact, I think largely my long-term goal for the caucus is that we're advocating the end the drug war entirely. I think that's our natural position, and I think I think that's where we end up. It's like with the Clemency Project. Frankly, we're trying to get our foot in the door on marijuana people, but once we start getting marijuana people out, it's going to be like, well, hey, look, there's all these other people victims of the drug war. We're not trying to get a few people out, right? We're trying to fucking break down the cages. The ACLU Smart Justice program is fighting to reduce prison populations by over 50%, right? That's their goal. I think we should be right there, at least as radical as they are, fighting with them.
You know, and here in Michigan, we've seen how devastating it can be to a community to have a prison shut down, how dependent the economy is locally on that. But that's where we need to be. That's what we need to really move towards, shutting prisons down and maybe opening more mental health hospitals. I mean, maybe that's not a popular way to talk to the political prison industrial complex, but when you reduce prison populations, you reduce the need for excessive carrying capacity. So I'm all for permanently destroying these structures so that we can never go back to that kind of incarceration state that we had before.
One thing that's interesting, I just thought made me think of it where I was at, and I got out in 15. There was about 1,400 prisoners, and max capacity was supposed to be 900. Right now, there's only about 530 people in that same prison. So,
Wow.
Is that because of COVID that they've been released, Ryan, or does that have anything to do with it at all?
COVID, and there was some stuff done in the last 4 years that we're good on getting people out. It's all gone well.
Wow. Awesome.
I mean, that's gone better. People are getting out, and yeah, it was crazy being in there. It was overflow, and but hopefully COVID helps with waking people up that it's not good for a country to have everybody in jail for stupid shit. So.
Well, the fact is, we have a perception that if someone's been convicted of a crime, that they are somehow a threat, and that they need to therefore be punished by being in an incarceration situation. Where what we really need to do is explore all kinds of alternative punishment situations, perhaps convicting fewer people, but also expanding it to include mental health as part of that. A home release. There's all different sorts of monitoring methodology that would allow someone to remain a functioning member of society and not be taken away from their loved ones and family just for a single transgression, especially nonviolent crimes. And as the National Criminal Defense lawyers said on Saturday, even some violent crimes should be looked at for the potential to have expungement or clemency applied.
There's too many crimes.
You know,
I mean, too many things labeled as crimes. Like, do you guys ever listen to The Dollop? Do you listen to the show The Dollop? It's a American history podcast that's been going on for years and years. It's really funny, but they're two comedians. One of them tells the other one a story about American history. And what you start to realize after about 10 episodes is we're fucked up the way we do things, you know? Like, I listened one today about mining in the late 1800s in Colorado, and the unions and the police officers just killing each other and stealing votes, and it could be.
I listened to something the other day about the state of Kansas and how it was formed, and how like all these like this massacre happened and nobody accepted the vote and everything.
Yeah, and it's just like
there's some precedent for all this weird shit.
Yeah, and we're stupid about it, and it's just like, God, we've got
obviously don't learn from it. Then, you know.
The Boston Molasses Massacre. If you're not familiar with the Boston Molasses situation, you certainly should. We're
it's
huge
probably a dollar.
You know what? So
I would recommend it.
That sounds cool. Let me throw last week's question at these guys, and it got a little derailed because we were overwhelmed and we had to address the attempted siege that had just happened at that time. We're a few days removed from that, but given the win in Georgia for the Democrats, Biden taking over the office, and he's scheduled tomorrow. For some people, the healing of the nation begins. For other people, the military is going to kick in and stop this from happening, and Trump's going to stay, and it's all good for those people. So we'll see what actually happens. I think we're going to go through with the inauguration, and Biden will be in. And I guess the question is, the MORE Act passed right before the end of the last session, and there's now been that change in the Senate for as far as majority rule goes. There was the Kamala Harris and Joe Biden saying at least decrim and expungements. Does this configuration get us real change? Are we going to see like the descheduling that's in the MORE Act and be able to allow states to do what they need to do, or are we going to see some action, but it's going to involve some of the heavy taxes and maybe the overly federal involvement that's been suggested by some people? We have to deal with a bunch of shit, even though it's going to happen. But or is it so low priority given the whole state of things right now, or should we not even expect anything for a little bit? Just
Cannabis is for sure an election year issue. We see a lot of people pay attention to it when they want to, suck votes from the constituency. However, there's a significant movement amongst senators that was stifled by Mitch McConnell. I think we all know that the MORE Act got all the votes it needed in the House of Representatives and probably will again. This time in the Senate, I think it has a real chance to do it. But I'll just say that I'm not in favor of federal taxation of cannabis. However, CBD products are about to be taxed and licensed. Hemp products are about to be federally taxed when they come out next year with the new USDA stuff. Cannabis, if there's any federal involvement, will involve some kind of tax. So there's no way to avoid it. But I'd like to get Ryan Basore's opinion on the MORE Act because he has a very specific issue with some of the language contained within. Ryan, explain that, please.
Oh, and it's been promised that it's going to be fixed, and that by the time it got there, Blumenauer didn't know. But it basically just negates saying that anyone really that's worked in the cannabis industry before it's federally legal, especially people with charges, can and almost will be excluded. It was taken from a draft from the tobacco basically bill that they wrote. And we've been assured, and I've heard it from the same thing from everyone that it's pointless. So it's got to be fixed, and they're looking at it. But it's pretty crazy that big of oversight could take place at the national level.
Well, when the National Institutes of Health decided they were going to add additional farmers for cannabis in the United States of America because they have just one single source, that's the University of Mississippi, what they decided was that no one that currently grows cannabis in the United States of America would be eligible because all of them were proven violators of federal law and therefore couldn't be trusted to grow cannabis under the federal program. Now that means all of the people with the experience and the knowledge are completely excluded from the industry, and big business is the only one capable of accomplishing that. Mike McCurdy, what's your concern?
Let's find out. I want to find out from Ryan what he thinks the original question, what he thinks we might get out of what this new administration and the composition of the lawmakers now, particularly given what happened in the last session.
I mean, I'm optimistic, but that's the way I always am. I know other people are a little different, but the head of the National Democratic Party just got appointed as a big advocate for cannabis legalization. Biden just came right out and said he thinks it should be legal and taxed, which like having a president say that we've never it's all steps whether it happens or not. It's just pushing in that direction. So I think we got a real chance. Obviously, the big things are that the low-hanging fruit are the Safe Banking Act and the 280E tax reform. That everyone, I would imagine that those are going to be the first. But hopefully, the more is included. And I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't have told you the world is the way it is now 3 years ago. So I'm kind of.
But I guess it'd be nice to not have those stupid obstacles that you said that you believe are going to be taken out.
Of course.
That the federal tax isn't like 5%. Yeah, maybe something, but like maybe a percent, maybe 1%. Something like that. That's still a lot of revenue, and it doesn't really as much infringe on the issues that we've been discussing here earlier about the group that wants to raise taxes.
Right.
5% significant. I think that's what's in the MORE Act. And then there's the suggestion that the federal government have more involvement. And the one person, the former, I think she's the new Commerce Secretary.
That
it should be federal stores. So
that's a nonsense. That'll never happen.
No, you have to remove all the existing infrastructure in every one of the states, and it'd be a million lawsuits. There's no way it would work.
And locally in each of those states, they do have a lot of pull with their local reps, and now federally, and it would be crushing to the economies and putting people out of jobs.
I like
Jim Salame wants to get in real quick. Jim,
well, I just wanted to say, I read a few days ago that Biden picked for the Democratic National Committee to lead Jamie Harrison, who was going against Lindsey Graham down in South Carolina, and he was a big proponent for cannabis as well. So having him lead the Democratic Committee, I think,
that's a good sign. Ryan pointed that out real quickly, but yeah, for sure. That makes us feel a little bit more comfortable that somebody who has a reasonable perspective is in a high level position like that for policy and that kind of stuff. So Mike, you kind of had gleaned, I think, what we're discussing. What are your thoughts?
So I think my main point on this is that I think that we as a cannabis community in Michigan have the potential to begin influencing cannabis policy on a federal level. I think we should be going national with our organizing efforts, with our contacting our legislatures, trying, we should be going national. We have the expertise in our community. We have the structure in place through the Cannabis Caucus. We have, at this point we have a national coalition. We've got so much going for us. There's no reason we should be only organizing on a statewide basis.
I love the fact that National Normal issues a scorecard for our legislators to help people understand whether they've done well or done poorly on cannabis issues that have come before the legislature. Traditionally, there are a couple of people that get pretty good grades. Those are our Dems mostly. And then there are people that get really atrocious grades. Traditionally, those are our Republicans. With the composition of the Michigan legislature, I'm not sure that federally we're going to get them to move very well on their positions. But I like the thought of replacing people that don't do what we need them to do. Jamie, did you want to spin that question to Colin McDougall?
Do you feel as though you covered that specific end of it well enough last week? We did kind of bring it up, but there was like so many other like influences on that discussion that.
What about the MORE Act? Well, I hope I guess
more specifically, like, do we get anything federally? And if so, is it like a bunch of extra cumbersome stuff like high taxes and more federal involvement, or
I hope that the budget chairman Bernie Sanders can pass his bill through instead, or like line item veto some shit.
Certainly make it so that the type of federal attack on these things could be virtually,
right.
Yeah,
limited because there's no budget for it.
I hope that they don't exclude people from the cannabis industry who've been, had prior incidents. And I hope that they don't tax it very much more. Like, I can understand a very low 3 to 1% tax, but not another 10% taxed onto California's is way higher than ours. I couldn't imagine how that's going to do well for their black market or traditional market. And I think that it's good that we were able to get the senators from Georgia in. I hope that I saw yesterday, I got an email saying that Joe Biden supports making District of Columbia state, and that'd be 2 more progressive legislators in the Senate, giving them even more, and hopefully Puerto Rico will follow too. And I think that
Guam.
I don't know about Guam. I don't know if it qualifies. It has a pretty low population.
I don't know either, but since we're adding them on.
We could. I'm down with it.
Well, Guam,
American Samoa.
Yeah, we have some territories out there, but I think you're right with Colin, what you said. Some of them don't have enough population to maintain governmental systems like we require from states.
Yeah, I think they have to have 400,000 people in them or something. That's a requirement.
Wow. That's...
And the people of Puerto Rico don't get to weigh in on us. They're affected by decisions that are made, but they don't really get to vote on and help weigh in on what's going to affect their lives.
Dearborn could be a state. What do you know?
No, it's 90,000. So Detroit, maybe the state of Detroit.
Yeah. No. It's been a great conversation about this stuff.
It's going to be
one of the things that the MORE Act does is completely. I'm sorry, Colin, please go ahead.
I was going to say it'll be interesting seeing in the future and how different regions of the country will have to manage, because different industries are leaving, and it drives population and stuff. So it's weird how the cities are, if they're sustainable.
Jamie, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Howard Woolridge, we've had on the show before, is well known nationally. The cop on the hill, the guy who's helped start LEAP, and he liked the idea of just descheduling. Not the rest of the stuff and the surrounding in the MORAC, but just eliminating the issue of the federal supremacy with cannabis and what states can do, and then let that go from there. And I right now, that's what I agree with. I mean, that probably will not be the way it's done, when and if it's done, but the states handle it.
Going from Schedule 1 to Schedule None, that was the Bernie Sanders plan. Now, not only was it the Bernie Sanders plan, which was very popular, he barely lost the Democratic primary, it's also the language of the MORE Act. So descheduling could really happen. Now, Jamie, we've talked before about trying to deschedule cannabis in Michigan and the resistance that we received from state officials claiming that by descheduling cannabis, it would create several other legislative irregularities, which might leave people unprotected in some way, and therefore they can't do it. They have to do it properly. But I'd like to remind everybody that when John Sinclair was freed from prison by the Michigan State Supreme Court, for a period of 6 months in Michigan, there were no cannabis laws until the legislature, who received a proper kick in the ass to do it, fixed the laws and did them the way that they wanted to. So there's a precedent here in Michigan for having no cannabis laws and having the world not completely collapse.
Just to remind people, there's a lot of people now, since we talked about it here a lot, do know that our state has its own kind of version of the controlled substances list, and that cannabis, even though the Medical Marijuana Act passed, the Licensed Medical Marijuana Facility Licensing Act, and the MRTMA have all passed, and the states have many policies surrounding cannabis that just don't equal, the type of restrictions that normally come with a Schedule 1 drug or whatever. That cannabis still remains on that list as a Schedule 1, but also more senselessly, simultaneously as a Schedule 2 for when it's being used medically. So the whole thing is just irrational and senseless, literally senseless, not using the word literally correctly or lightly. And instead of dealing with it, the only way it can be resolved, it's contradiction to new law. It should be resolved so people don't get in trouble, so people don't have to deal with felonies and shit like that over cannabis. That's, that shouldn't be the case anymore. It's legal.
More than 50% of the states have decided that cannabis has medicinal use, which means it doesn't qualify for the schedule. It certainly is. It's the federal government's biggest lie.
Do I seem frozen?
Yeah, you froze.
You froze, but your audio's working pretty good. But you did freeze with a very nice, pleasant, warm expression on your face.
No, it wasn't.
That's very generous if you just say that. You should watch the replay, Shelly, or maybe don't.
Mike, now you're on mute.
When I'm asking if everybody's frozen.
Damn, I missed it. Rerun it. I want to see it now.
Yeah, something exciting happened for a second.
Screenshot, right?
Rewind
It was pretty funny. It was like,
someone's got it.
No one was frozen, or I was the only one that was frozen?
You were the only one that was frozen.
Oh, on mine, all of your faces were frozen into weird faces. Everyone.
Yes.
All of you.
You're
like,
screenshot it. Yes, that was great.
Yeah.
It goes both
Totally
ways.
opposite. You were all frozen. Scared.
That's the
is
best line
fantastic.
ever.
Well, I think what we've really come up to talk about is 2021 is going to be a very dynamic year on a statewide level and on a federal level for cannabis law reform. We are going to have lots of stuff to talk about, not just Deb's background photo, but all kinds of things going forward. The MORE Act, perhaps legislative efforts here to combine the MMFLA and the MRTMA, and rumors that we continue to hear that there's groups that are trying to remove the caregiver system from the medical program, believing that now that there's an established business entities in the state distributing cannabis that we don't need caregivers any longer. And my personal opinion is that's a bad move. First of all, we love caregivers. Second of all, it only opens the door to them trying to remove the home cultivation, which we got in 2008 with the medical law, and we reaffirmed in 2018 with the legalization law. Jamie, you're dying to get in.
I just want to add, we discussed dodging a bullet from the legislation that would open up the acts and potentially, if not just the MRTMA, in some discussions also the MMMA that was going to be heard over lame duck, but that effort will resume too at some point.
Yep.
In the session, and we've got to be aware of that.
When the MRA reached out to the community to get feedback from citizenry, they reached out to Matt Abel and myself, and we formed some groups, and then we brought it to the legal group of the State Bar Association, and brought it public and brought the language out so everyone could see it and comment on it. And we were able to give feedback to the MRA en masse, so to speak. And they just had so many potential changes to make that they ran out of time to do anything this year, which is exactly what we wanted to have happen. Because as Jamie mentioned, lame duck would have been how they passed it, and lame duck is when freaky, weird, horrible things happen. We don't want anything to be done to us in lame duck like we've had done to us in lame duck before. So 2021 looks like there's lots of issues to deal with, including COVID and including the restoration of Michigan's economic status regarding small businesses devastated by the shutdown and the pandemic. But cannabis will be somewhere on the agenda somewhere. But we have to be vigilant to make sure that what we want is reflected in the potential legislation. And also we have to continue to search our legislative actors to find partners that are willing to sponsor the type of things that Mike talked about today and the type of things that Ryan talked about today. And, you know, perhaps entheogenic issues like Jim and Colin might champion as well.
And
So.
all other forms of drug policy and war on drugs, you know, stuff.
We saw the legislature willing to amend the Expungement Act here at the end of 2020 to add drunk driving offenses and some other things too. They seem to recognize that the first effort of expungement wasn't sufficient in some ways. Perhaps in 2021 we can convince them that the cannabis portion of it really was pretty lame and that we need to add to that. So that'll be worth. You know, I know that we're sort of in the last 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes of the show. I'd like Ryan and Shelly to get an opportunity to talk about their individual podcasts. Shelly, let's go with you first with Weeds and Reeds.
Yeah, Reeds and Weeds. We just put out one a couple days ago that I did. I've been learning to edit. I've been editing my own stuff, so it's taken forever, but I'm excited. I set up a little home studio. I have 4 new mics. It's exciting. Still looking for a co-producer, someone who wants to smoke weed and read books or loves being adjacent, loves like social media and updating websites, things like that. Coming up, I'm recording one tomorrow, or I just recorded one with Heather J., who is a Michigan-based, or she's from Detroit, moved to LA, comedian friend of mine who's written the first 2 detective novels in a series, and they're really good and really funny. First one's called Maybe Shorty Should Be a Detective. I feel like it's a series. I feel like, anyway, she's out in LA, she's pitching it, blah, blah, blah. But we've read the first 2 ones of those. And tomorrow I'm reading Buddhism for Beginners, which is a book that a friend of mine said, can we talk about this? Because during this time, the last few months, you can listen to the book in 2 hours. You know, it's a very simple, like Buddhism and that's been a big comfort to her in the last few months. We're going to talk about that. And then last week, Ed Rosenthal said he would come on. So that's pretty cool. So that's what's going on with me.
That was a fantastic interview on Jazz Cabbage Cafe last week. For those of you on Alexa or Spotify, make sure that you check out our previous episodes of Jazz Cabbage Cafe. That's Reeds and Weeds. Shelly, how can people tune in to that program, and how can they download it after the fact? You are muted.
I'm killing it. Reeds and Weeds is on every streaming service. So just look up Reeds and Weeds. There's maybe 55 episodes. And if there's books that you're dying to read, or you like the idea of reading along and just kind of being involved that way, readsandweeds.com or Reeds and Weeds on Facebook or Instagram. You can find me there.
Smoking.
Show.
Go ahead, Jamie.
This is a great show.
It's a great show.
I've been on it, and I have listened to it, and it's been good every time.
It's a lot of fun, for sure.
On the other side of that, Ryan Basore, Smoking Rope. Also good every time. Good to the last drop, like that coffee commercial from when we were growing up. Tell us a little bit more about your podcast, sir.
I like that intro song too.
Thank you. No, it's we're on to episode 28 tomorrow at 1. We'll be on Facebook Live, and we're having Rep Robbie is our guest, and then we post that every Friday to Spotify and iTunes and Podbeam and all those as well. So we've had a lot of great guests on. Jamie and Rick's actually been on. Have you been on twice, Rick?
Yes.
He's been on twice. Yeah, one of those. But the Rep Robbie, we had former Lansing Mayor Virg Bonero on last week. That was fun, going down memory lane of the history of Lansing, because he was the mayor in 2010 when we really got it rocking, and just from his point of view, listening to it, and hopefully, I would love to see him back in the city myself. Hopefully that could possibly happen one day and get rocking with cannabis. But no, it's going well. It's fun. It's become kind of like an industry podcast. I get a lot of messages from people that are in the business and or own the businesses, and we talk about all types of current events and talk about the market and try to stay right on top of everything. So, yeah.
That's exciting. I'll talk about 420 Post, which is my Wednesday show, which goes on Wednesday from 1 to 2 p.m., broadcast live on Facebook. That's a business-centric podcast featuring Mike Brennan as the host, former Detroit News guy, or Detroit Free Press guy, and also Jamie Cooper of the Sensi magazine. We have all types of business-friendly guests talking about things from stock market to how to operate through the MMFLA and the MRTMA systems. Some of the bigger mover and shakers we have on that program too. It's a 1 hour long, so our interviews stay tight, and then we also have a roundtable at the end. Ryan's participated in that, and so has Jamie too. Jamie, would you like to give a short pitch for Planet Green Trees or anything else?
Yeah, well, Planet Green Trees continues. It's probably longest running one of these of many great ones in Michigan going on in that type of genre, and hosted by attorney Michael Comorn, Thursday nights, 8 to 10. I don't know what the next week's stuff coming up is, but it's always good information and interesting and funny and all the good things that you want in that situation.
Okay.
Also, shout out Medical Mondays too. We had Berg on earlier, and there was a really cool interview yesterday. We had someone from Tobago, and they talked about the weed down in Tobago. It was pretty interesting and cool. That Green Bank 420 on Instagram. This is his name. I can get at him.
Medical Mondays broadcast live on YouTube every Monday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. It's a wonderful show. It's a smoking and swearing and talking about cannabis show. We love it.
Well,
Get dirty.
Has its place and time in the whole mix thing.
Absolutely true. Yeah. Mr. McCurdy, do you have podcasts or things that you would like to share, broadcasts that you're doing, maybe with the Cannabis Caucus with our audience?
We have no broadcast coming up. The one piece of news, I don't know how far out it's gotten, is that we have our vice chair of the Cannabis Caucus, Zahra Abbas, has been elected as one of only 6 representatives to the DNC from Michigan. So, in essence, she's representing millions of Michiganders on the Democratic Central Committee.
Liano was also elected too.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yeah, so we had them both on to talk about that one day. It was very cool, and they've been working on that for a long time. They've been positioning themselves for a long time to earn that position. So that's.
And I think go ahead.
I was just going to say what that means for us. Sorry, is that we have a direct place to begin organizing nationally within the Democratic Party on cannabis, just forming that National Cannabis Caucus.
I was also going to say that Zara and Liana, when we had them on, they wanted us to register for a Democratic convention that is coming up. I think you can register until Thursday, You don't have to pay anything. You just have to, and it's all online now, so you can vote online. But just
This,
like we did.
MI Solidarity?
Yep, MI Solidarity.
MISolidarity.org. All one word. No, not all one word. MI, then solidarity.org.
And if you vote, they have like some sort of coalition going on in the Democratic Party that's trying to push progressive policies, to vote for them. It's like a month from now. So
it's great to send progressives like that representing the Democratic Party.
Yeah, I just got a text. I just got a text message from them like a minute. Oh, yeah, it says sign up as we were talking about this. So it's from somebody from MI Solidarity. So they're texting people right now. But yeah, try and do that.
So they were watching the show and realized that.
I know. I got one too. Isn't that so weird?
I know. We are newsbreakers. We're awesome. That's great.
So, yeah.
Now, Mike, did you start talking about that before all these texts came out, or were you spurred on to talk about it because you also received one of these texts?
I'm sorry, talking about the national committee. The reason I'm talking about that is because our vice chair has just been elected, and I just think I think we should be organizing nationally. MI Solidarity is a part of that. You know, they want to. They're basically getting people to join the Michigan Democratic Party, and once we join the Michigan Democratic Party, we have influence in the Michigan Democratic Party. You know, and that's it's actually really easy. There's not that many members. That's how we got Dana Nessel in as Attorney General, right? We all joined, and then we just overpowered the previous membership who had a different candidate. And we can do that. We can do that anytime we want to. We've proved that. We just have to have something to rally behind. And you know, that's what MI Solidarity is trying to continue that tradition.
Right on. Well, that's pretty cool then. As you were bringing that up, texts went out.
Yeah.
Encouraging people to properly register and all that kind of stuff. So.
All right. So we need that.
Yep, it's free. Join the Michigan Democratic Party. It's free. You know,
people should be obligated. After that experience, people should now be obligated.
Right. I also will say that with the registered, the record number of people that we had in the primary last year, and with the record number of people that participated in the general election in 2020, there should be a lot of people that are voting Democrat that maybe haven't registered Democrat. So there's a lot of interest.
Oh, Rick, there's only like, I don't know the exact number. It's like 10 or 15,000 members of the Michigan Democratic Party. There's like at least 5 million Democrats in Michigan. So there's so much, like that's why it's so easy to influence. All we got to do is sign people up. We show up at one day at a convention, and we can get whatever we want. Whatever power is at that convention, we can win it. We can make the vote, and that's like, it's such a small number. It really.
Use the power of cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
And also, since we're going around with podcasts too, just a reminder, this Friday, the NPO show at 4:00, where we have Decriminalized Nature Grand Rapids and Julie Barron and Diane Quinn on. So.
And how can people tune into that, Colin?
It's going to be live on Facebook, and we have a YouTube channel as well right now.
Yeah. We have an Instagram, and we also have a Twitter as well, and we're trying to post it on those shows, on those sources, you know, after the show. So.
Hi.
This is by request.
Jamie Lowell is holding up his baby dog Zeta right now for our audio audience.
Oh my God.
It's, of course, the cutest thing you have ever seen in your life.
She's so cute that even the audio audience can have an image of her.
I'm kidding you guys, Jamie. So that's all I can see.
Oh, I miss her so much.
Wow. The way she licks your thumb.
Hey, hopefully the vaccine will work without any problems. We'll get over this stuff, and we'll be meeting back in a studio when we can. And some of that stuff should be pretty exciting because Derek's putting together some
Taco Tuesday.
pretty cool stuff.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, I'm gonna be the first one back. I'll be the first one back in the studio. I've already gotten I've gotten the first dose already.
She's begun the
Right.
how are the side effects?
You know, it was like a really mild flu. I've only had the first shot. They said it's worse for the second one. It's like a really mild flu. I was really tired, chills, a little body aches for about 12 hours, and then boom, gone. It was like very strange, but I mean, it wasn't no big deal.
Did you smoke weed the whole time?
Did I what? Oh yeah, I smoked weed the entire time.
Okay.
Vaccine doesn't change my life.
While they were sticking it in my arm, I had a great big doobie.
Good.
You did not
No, I didn't. But as we pulled out of the garage, I lit one. All the cops were like lined up and applauding and shit as you pulled out. It's like a drive-through thing. So yeah, so I'll be the first one back.
And Deb posted on Facebook her success, got a lot of attention for it, and you already have your second dose scheduled.
Well,
right?
they scheduled both at the same time, yeah.
Nice. So that's fantastic.
We'll see though, dudes, because they could run out. Now they're saying that they don't have those doses, those second doses. That was all imagine this. It was a Trump lie. Imagine that. There's no extra doses.
Wow, we've never heard of that before,
yeah. So we'll see what happens. But I guess I have like 54% immunity right now. So stand back, bitches. I'm half safe.
So we get about the last 10 minutes or so of the broadcast here, and I know that we've already been through most of the accolades that we wanted to do and attention to the different things that we wanted to give attention to. I just wanted to say I'm a little bit nervous for the transition of power tomorrow. I think the Capitol grounds are gorgeous.
Yeah.
You haven't seen it?
Yeah.
Mall,
Did you see that?
Where people would normally be standing, the mall at the Washington, D.C. area is filled with flags. One flag for every person that would have been there, not able to attend because of COVID. It's a touching statement. It's also kind of chilling to think that's what our 2021 looks like. But
it's all lit up now. Now they've got like columns of like luminaires going straight down, you know, what do they call it? What's the water? What do they call the waterways? The mall. Okay, going straight down through there. It looks really cool. Everything looks like it's glowing.
So this is
what no people.
This is America when she puts on her best look, right? So let's hopefully this transition of power goes peacefully tomorrow. I know they're preparing for the worst. Maybe it'll be the best, and we're hopeful that regardless, that the Biden administration leads us into a more sane place in 2021 and beyond, and for the world.
Or the president took the advice of the MyPillow guy and has instituted martial law, and he's going to be staying put.
Yeah,
there are a group of people who believe that's going to happen.
That would be really entertaining tomorrow. Yeah,
MyPillow got dropped from QBC. MyPillow got dropped from Bed Bath and Beyond. MyPillow got dropped from all these different places after
if that happens tomorrow, I will smoke cannabis throughout the entire thing, Colin. Okay, start to finish.
We'll also join the pledge of smoking cannabis throughout the entire day tomorrow.
Yes.
I'm going to be more worried. I'm going to be more worried if nothing happens tomorrow. If everything is calm, I'm going to be more worried about
really.
Because I mean they may have stepped back to come back again on another day, and that's really the scariest.
But they will. They're going to be here. This is the new normal with these weirdos. Don't you think it's the new normal? These people are going to be there. This is something we're going to be battling for a long time.
Yep.
We always have.
It's just
but now they're out there. They're empowered, Shelly. They don't hide anymore.
What Trump went through for 4 years, being told he had a legitimate, win. That's what they're going to do to Biden for the next 4. So, eye for an eye.
Yeah, it's going to be awkward. I will say that the armed militias called for 2 days of protest, one on Sunday, one on Wednesday, all the state capitals across the United States. And on Sunday, there were more media people than there were armed protesters at the Capitol building. So
aren't you guys
they're not
defending
very
the Capitol?
smart, though. That's the thing that we've really got to, keep hope in, because these fools like show up committing a crime with cameras on themselves. Like they were just like, I'm stealing things. Like they're just not the brightest. So and then did they not think, and then what did they think was going to happen next? They were going to scoot somebody in, and then what did they think? Like what did they think the next 4 things that were going to happen would be? I don't think they're that smart, but I mean, aggressive, yes, they're aggressive.
Trump is really scary, man. And
really scary.
That happened.
Trump is preparing pardons right now for presumably or reportedly about 100 people. He's also weighing the possibility of pardoning all the people at the insurrection at the Capitol, plus himself and all of his kids. Ryan Basore, what do you think about that? You've been quiet for too long. I worry about you.
I put my part in. Hopefully he's giving it to me. I haven't heard, so. But my buddy did get pardoned, and I just saw the CEO of Death Row Records, who my buddy was promoting, helping with Snoop Dogg, just got pardoned. So that's pretty cool.
What's his name? They just got pardoned. Will his name be on the list?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I can give you the name here in a second. But besides that, yeah, no, I hope it's unfortunate because I think there was going to be a lot of actually good pardons going on, but Trump got carried away there at the end, and like was at first saying he wasn't going to pardon anybody, and like so, it's like 100. I don't think is what he was expecting, so that affect people's lives. But hey, let's keep the pardoning process going with the next president. Let's keep that pardon hard.
Yeah.
Pardon hard.
Pardon on.
Pardon hard.
Party hard.
Pop another beer. I'm pardon some more.
Pardon on.
Pardon. I love it. I guess the fact is when you recognize that the laws were inappropriately applied or they were inappropriately crafted, and the process of fixing that, it absolutely involves this. And pardoning shouldn't be something that's only focused on when election time comes around or when someone leaves office. It's something that they should be engaged in on a regular. And I know Donald Trump really gave pardoning a bad name by pardoning some people that were politically advantageous to him, people that lied to Congress like Michael Flynn and everyone else that helped to conceal his misdeeds, except for, the guy that's still in jail.
I want to throw it out there real quick, Rick. With this new administration, I think we're going to obviously have I think we're going to have good USAs for the Eastern Western District for our cause, and I think we should start thinking about in Michigan. We got to start thinking about trying to get Danny Trevino out sooner than later as well.
When you say USAs, you're referring to federal district attorneys that cover the two halves of Michigan, the eastern half and the western half.
I would say Pat Miles Jr. or something like that.
So for our audience, but yep, and of course Danny Trevino, for people that may not know, sort of have a very famous case here in Michigan, really prosecuted and jailed for activity that makes people millionaires right now. It's nonsensical. Danny has a family just like we saw the family of Rudy Gammo on Saturday on that video as well. So there's so much that we can do statewide and federally if we have partners willing to work with us. Mike McCurdy, wouldn't you agree?
I agree, absolutely. And something we need to do is we're formalizing our coalition, working on this program. And what that does is it allows us to begin inviting people in effectively so that we can effectively coalition build. And, we need the labor. We need the labor. So we're publicizing everybody's cases. We need to be able, once we have the structure in place, we'll be able to vote. We'll say, Danny Trevino, yeah, he fits our criteria for somebody we're going to fight for. And then like our whole coalition is suddenly behind that. We'll literally have the power to create our list of who we think needs to be released and begin demanding that of the Whitmer administration.
As we have the last 2 or 3 minutes of the program here before we wrap it up, Deborah Young, I know that you've been around for a bit today, haven't said a whole lot. What did you want to contribute? Any final thoughts real quickly before we end up?
About something specific about Trump giving pardons. I think all presidents give pardons. I think Ryan's right. I think he was going to give a whole lot more, and he whittled it down to about 100 today. I'm interested to see who's actually on that list, and I firmly believe there's a lot of dudes in prison who don't deserve to be there, and then I know that a lot of his buddies do deserve to be there. So I'm anxious to see what happens.
A lot of Trump pardons were just purchased. I mean, they were peddling.
Yeah.
Trying to raise funds. Giuliani
benefit him later on. Yeah, it's got nothing to do with prison reform, I don't think. Maybe some of the earlier stuff, but the ones we're going to see coming up here, I don't know, but Ryan said he's got a friend on there. So I don't know. I'm not the authority on this. Everything he does is slimy. So
New York Times
know.
reported that some people are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to
Yeah.
agents who have the ear of the president so that they can go and advocate on their behalf to get one
I
of these
did see
things.
that he is not going to pardon himself and the family. I did see that they managed to talk him out of that. So I don't know if that's true or not. Who knows? Because you hear shit about Trump and then a minute later he does exactly the opposite of what they just announced he was going to do. So we don't know. We'll see.
Well, we'll know
Well,
by the end of the day, won't we? I mean, this is
Today
the
we
last
will.
day,
We
right?
will.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
he walks
Today,
onto that Air Force One when he or Marine One when the helicopter that
Oh,
takes him off from his
man.
military is sent off tomorrow.
He's
Well, look,
expecting like a huge crowd. They've invited people and told people to bring 5 guests with them. So he wants to put on this huge event because Biden can't have people. It's just going to be a very
One
stark,
last super
small thing.
spreader event. before
Right.
I-
One last super spreader, but they're saying that people are not going. So I'm anxious to see that, dude. Tomorrow's going to be very interesting. I'm really,
Oh my gosh, it is.
really excited to see.
and we've come to the end of Jazz Cabbage Cafe, so I want to thank all of our guests today. Of course, we had Ryan Basore that came on earlier from Redemption Cannabis, Berg from Medical Mondays, Mike McCurdy's here, Michigan Cannabis Caucus, and so many other things. Shelly Smith, Reeds and Weeds, Colin and Jim, of course, from Decriminalized Nature Ann Arbor and the Entheo Show. Deborah Young, famous in her own right for so many different reasons. I'm Rick Thompson. Jamie Lowell, finish us out, sir.
All right, that's a pretty good job. We talked about a lot of our stuff during the show too, but I am excited about next week's show because not only with John Sinclair, but a return of Tiffany Coleman, who was on here earlier and who was well received, very well versed in the scientific perspective and work on cannabis in many regards.
Yep.
And she also has a background of understanding and knowing John from other things too. And it was kind of interesting when I brought up his name, she wasn't sure I was talking about the same guy. So I'd be happy to introduce her to somebody who she's been aware of for a long time through his art and his music, and not necessarily understanding that there's this great connection to this cannabis community and stuff like that. So she's excited to be on next week with us too for that. But we're going to talk about some cool shit. Like, for example, what the deal is with Delta 8. You've seen that come on as kind of a popular product now. It looks to me like it's trying to like follow in the footsteps of what happened with CBD and be its own thing and be at as many gas stations and its own stores and whatever else as it can. But is it something that makes sense and that we should be looking into or believing that we can benefit from? And there's a lot of issue with it. So we'll talk about that next week.
Okay. Well, that's been a great show.
Jazz Cabbage Cafe. Yeah, good stuff. Thanks a lot for joining us, Mike. Thanks for sticking on.
Have a great day,
Thank you.
everybody. Thanks for
Yep.
joining us
See you
today.
guys.
Bye-bye
Take
now.
care. Good night.
See ya.